Creating memorable experiences since 1967, One Campus organization is bringing together the community and celebrating Black history. Plus, hear from an Oklahoma City sports radio icon and his story of over 25 years in the booth. This is Sooner Stories. Founded in 1967 and hosting events and pageants ever since, the University of Oklahoma Black Student Association has been an encouraging community for students around campus. Joining us in studio today, we have BSA President Anthony Glosson and OU Nightly reporter Reagan Garvin. Reagan, take it away.
Thanks, Michael. And how are you doing today, Anthony?
I'm doing fabulous. Thank you for asking, Reagan.
That's good. I'm glad to hear it. So, can you tell me about your position with the BSA?
Yes. So I am the Black Student Association president for the 2025-2026 school year.
That's amazing. So what made you get into BSA? What made you want to join?
Honestly, I joined last year, kind of like last minute. It was actually after election. So basically what happened was I was looking for more involvement here on campus, and they needed someone to be the Black Royalty pageant chair. So I was like, might as well just do that. So I signed up for that. And then last year, I served a full term, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever experienced here on campus. So I decided to do it again, except this time with a much bigger position than just pageant chair. So,
absolutely. Yeah. That's amazing. So how does BSA impact you, and what does it mean to you?
I think definitely how it impacts me is it has created such a safe place for me here on campus, especially with, Oklahoma being, or OU being a predominantly white institution. So I think BSA itself creates this very safe, protective space for not only just Black students, but for everybody. With that, the leaders in this community is so outstanding, and they honestly they inspire me a lot to want to push myself and be better. So BSA has honestly just served as a bridge to who I am as a person, how am I going to grow as a person, and then on top of that, it kind of just expanded my college career here, honestly.
Absolutely. Okay. So you mentioned the OU BSA Royalty Scholarship Pageant, and that actually happened pretty recently.
Yes, on Sunday, this previous Sunday.
Yeah. So what are some of your favorite memories from this weekend?
My goodness. Okay, first of all the contestants, they performed. They showed, they showed out. One of my favorite things, I think, from the whole pageant is seeing them do their talent portion, because I think that's really when the contestants can shine and show who they are as individuals. And yeah, we had singing, we had poetry, we had a monologue, we had literally one guy played the trumpet and had a video playing in the background of all the historical Black figures here and in the US and across the world. And I just think seeing these individuals be able to express themselves in this light and then be supported by their community is such a beautiful, beautiful thing to see now.
Yeah. I actually recently interviewed Desi Abney. She's the chair for that.
Yes.
How do you feel this event is something that impacts the community, and what results have you seen from that?
I will say, speaking from experience, because I was the pageant chair last year, I have seen literal contestants come from being this shy, don't want to speak to anybody, is afraid to speak up in these smaller spaces, to becoming these beautiful and outstanding young adults. I remember the royalty that we've had this previous year, or for this year, Nehemiah Mitchell and Kyler Daly. I have seen them literally grow in rehearsals and practices, and now they're able to speak at council meetings, and now they're able to speak at different organizations and really push their platform. And so seeing them, come from this shy, I don't know what to do with with me being in college, to now being able to travel and talk about their platform and push out this agenda that they have for not only their communities, but for themselves. That's a beautiful thing. And so I've seen these students transform from these young adults to these empowering leaders now in the community. So it's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah. What have been some of your favorite memories with BSA as a whole?
Ooh, okay. My favorite memory goes back to my sophomore year, actually. So when we were in Big 12, we usually did the Big 12 conference, which is the university here, they choose delegates to go. So that year we went to Iowa. It was I think it was a 12-hour bus ride, I think, from here to Iowa. I couldn't remember, because I was asleep most of the time. But we got there and we got to connect with so many other Black students from different organizations, different institutions, and we got to speak to some really, really big leaders, some entrepreneurs, and got to network. And I think the fact that OU was able to provide that for us really made it special. And then I was there and I got to meet so many different people from like across the whole entire nation. So that alone was just a beautiful thing. So I think that was definitely one of my most impressionable memories here.
Gotcha. So what about BSA stands out the most to you?
That's a good question, Reagan. Honestly, if I'm going to be like authentically honest, I think the fact that everybody has a voice and everybody has their own impact within BSA. So yes, you have the Black Student Association, but you also have these umbrella organizations that fall under it, like Black Men in STEM. Then you also have just a variety of different organizations. And so seeing everybody grow in their own light, I think that's what makes it special for me, because we're not only focused on the Black students here at OU, we're focused on everybody. And so for everybody to come to an event and have a good time, at that point, I think at that time, like, we've done our job. We've been able to provide this space for every student to connect, to have fun, to learn, to grow. And I think BSA does a beautiful job at doing that. And they've been doing that since before I was president. And I'm pretty sure, actually, not pretty sure, I'm confident that they will continue to do that after I graduate.
Absolutely. So you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but being at a predominantly white institution, how important has it been for you to have this community?
Very important. I think if I did not have this community, I probably would have transferred, only because it does get a little difficult trying to navigate just being a college student. And I think many people, when they do come here and you do identify as a Black individual, you're kind of looking for like that culture aspect. And so when you don't have the culture aspect, you're not able to get the things that you need internally. And that might be mentally, physically, or whatever the case may be for it. But in my case, I think what was important is that my community was around me. And I feel like if I didn't have that community aspect, I don't think I would have been able to learn about myself in different aspects or be able to grow in a certain manner. And so, yeah, I think having that community present and here on campus to support each other, yeah, that kind of is what played a big part and why. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You touched on it a little bit, but with having this community, how do you feel like over the past 4 years, this community has helped you grow and changed you?
Okay, period. I will say in high school, I wasn't heavily involved with, like, I guess, how the Black community could help me. I kind of just like floated by. But as soon as I got here and I met my friends, they kind of exposed me to different people. And I will say shout out to the upperclassmen from my freshman year, because they were the ones that reached out to underclassmen and were like, hey, you guys should come here, or hey, you guys should do this. And so I think them being able to pour into me as an individual made me want to grow, and it made me want to learn more about myself. And so what that looks like is, let's say, for example, freshman year, I remember one senior, she was like, hey, you should come to the Fred Jones Museum. We went, when I tell you, I had a blast, and I met so many like different people, and then from there I was able to learn, okay, well, they do this a certain way, or this works for them, so maybe I can try this. I think just seeing how they operated and seeing what worked with the upperclassmen, because at that time, they were doing big, big things. They were presidents, they were leaders, they were going to internships and getting paid for it, they were traveling, like all of these different aspects. And so for me as a freshman, I was like, okay, well, I want to be able to like live up to these people and live up and fill these shoes once and after they are gone. And so I think them pouring into me allowed me to learn from them, grow throughout these 4 years, and then be able to pour into the underclassmen now as I am a senior. So I think definitely it's like a generational / legacy type of moment, I feel like.
Yeah. So as an upperclassman now, do you feel like you're doing a good job at pouring into this next generation, and what does that look like?
Do I feel like I'm doing a good job versus am I doing a good job? I feel like I am. And honestly, actually, no, I'll give myself credit when it's due. I do definitely think I am doing my best, at least, to try to make sure that I am reaching out to these underclassmen and letting them know that, like, if you need anything, any kind of support, any kind of assistance, please let me know. And if I don't know the answer, I'm going to find out for you. Because I think when you come to college, at least as an 18-year-old, 17-year-old, you don't know much. And so I think definitely having a mentor or someone to step in and kind of guide you throughout your college career is important. And actually, to tie back into that, BSA actually does a program where we do Big Little Reveals. So we have our first year connections. And so usually in the beginning of the year, what happens is we have our like sophomore, juniors, and seniors. They're able to be paired up with the underclassmen or like either a transfer or a freshman. And so what that does is it builds a bond within the community already. So as they are progressing through their years, they're learning from their mentor, okay, well, this is the things that I should do. I can get connected with these people by doing this and then X, Y, and Z. So yeah, so on that aspect, I do think I am, doing a good job with that. And remind me about the second part of that question one more time.
What does that look like? But I feel like you answered it pretty well.
Good. Yeah. I think, just being involved. And honestly, for me at least, and I just spoke at a panel about this last week, I guess to like summarize what I was saying about what that looks like is just being present. I think if you're just being present, being in the moment, and being authentic, people will kind of see who you are as a person. So I don't think you have to do too much to show that I come from this place, but I can also achieve this. Or I've had this thing happen, or I've had this situation happen, but I can still achieve this amount of greatness. You know what I mean? And so I think just being the example, that is what makes, I guess, the underclassmen more drawn to be like, oh, he's doing this. Maybe this can work. Because that's what happened to me when I was a freshman. I was seeing stars on campus. I was like, girl, how can I get to where you at? Okay. But yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Anthony, for interviewing with us today. Michael, I'm going to go ahead and toss it back to you.
Thanks, Reagan. From Friday Night Lights to daily sports debates, Oklahoma Sports Radio has a familiar voice for nearly 3 decades. Listeners across the state have heard Mark Rogers on the air at The Sports Animal. Logan Nightly's Carly Beach sat down with Rogers to talk about his career, his passion, and the stories behind the mic.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me today, Mark. Well, cool. You've been with the Sports Animal since 1997.
Right.
What do you remember most about your first days in Oklahoma Sports Radio?
Being a little nervous, probably, when I first started about exactly what we were doing, but I really have always been a big sports fan my entire life, and I didn't really think that I was going to be in sports radio when I was going through school at OU, but I did always listen to it and always found it fascinating, and so I felt like I was kind of a natural at it because I'd listened to it for so long that I would have the ability to do a show. So I wasn't completely uncomfortable when I first started, but boy, you can learn a lot over the course of 30 years of doing this.
Yeah, when did you realize that it was more than just a job, it was a passion?
Before I started, I would say early on. I mean, and that's true with everything. If there's something that you're really passionate about, it helps you. It doesn't ever seem like it's a grind, like, coming to work every day, even when you're in the summer and there's not a whole lot of stuff to talk about, it's still a really good day to be able to talk to people and talk about sports and the things that I'm doing when I'm not working, which is basically watching sports and go to sporting events.
Yeah. You founded Oklahoma Pigskin Preview in 1995, and you traveled to every high school football playing school in Oklahoma.
Right.
Tell me about that experience.
Well, I had no experience in doing a magazine, and I grew up in a small town, and we're quite a ways away from any media center, like Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Wichita would have been the closest big towns, and so we really never got any coverage of our sports. And I thought, well, I always kind of like to read about what is going on at some of the other schools that we play, and there wasn't anything out there like that in Oklahoma. There wasn't Texas. And so I thought, well, this would be really cool if I could start a magazine that featured all of the Oklahoma high school football playing towns, and did that and started working on it in 1994. First one was in 1995. So tried to sell advertising on the concept of people of, hey, parents are going to buy this, and people that are interested in athletics are going to buy it. And that was really my only job the first 3 years of the magazine until I got into radio. So I did have time to travel, sell ads, meet coaches and players and all that. And that was, looking back on it, it was a lot of work, but it was very instrumental in getting that off the ground, and still instrumental today in contacts and things like that I made back in 1995.
Yeah. Did any of these communities stand out to you, specifically just traveling and seeing all these different locations?
Yeah, I mean, there were parts of the state that I've never been to that I have been now, but really the communities that are passionate about football, that get behind the athletes and the kids at those schools. I mean, there's a lot of them in Oklahoma that are super passionate. Davis is an example of that, I would say. A lot of schools in the metro area, Ada, kind of has that feel of it too. So yeah, there's a lot of special communities in Oklahoma that way.
But Oklahoma high school football clearly means something to a lot of
Right.
people. Why do you think it resonates so deeply with people here?
I think it goes back to all of the success that University of Oklahoma had during the 50s. They were national champions 3 times in that decade with Bud Wilkinson. And so the high schools mimic what's going on in colleges at the time. Like Barry Switzer was the head coach of OU when I was in high school. Most high schools ran the wishbone offense at the time because that's what OU did. So I think it goes back to the success of the OU football program. And Oklahoma State had some very successful football teams in the 40s and 50s too, that generations upon generations have been big football fans in Oklahoma, and that filters down to the high school ranks too.
Obviously, you're a OU football fan, correct?
Right.
So how do you balance passion with credibility whenever it comes to sports?
Yeah, that's a great question. I grew up an OU fan. I think at times I've had different jobs when I was a sports director in Oklahoma City at a television station. You got to provide balanced coverage. And I've never, once you are around a team and covering a team, I think it takes a lot of the fan out of you, is that you're dealing with people. And if you, reporters, I think, are biased about anything. It's the personal relationships that they have rather than just the logos of the teams maybe that they've grown up and followed. So it has a way of working itself out, I think, if you're doing multiple jobs. Now, if you're just with the team all the time, I can see how you might provide a slanted view, or you're hoping that, hey, this year the team's going to do this and that. But I think once you cover multiple sports at different places, you learn to be fair.
Your show blends serious sports discussion with humor, everything from man laws to Bigfoot as
Yes.
well, and music trivia. How do you find that on-air balance, and why do you think it connects with listeners?
Okay, I think it's always important to blend both, because the show, sports radio, is not about how much I know. It's not a fact contest, those type of things. So if you're in the car, you want to listen, you want to spend some time listening. So there does have to be a balance. If it's a big sports day, if it's a Monday after an OU game, football game, or another big topic day, then it's not usually the best to talk about Bigfoot. But if the day is kind of slow, or there's some kind of big news on Bigfoot, if there's been a TV show or maybe a sighting of Bigfoot in the area, then that might go to the lead of that day. So you'd be surprised at stories like Bigfoot or aliens or man law or things like that, that people that are listening, it really kind of hits a note with them that they have an opinion on it. And it's not a sports opinion where people are like, oh, you're crazy, you can't believe you think that. For Bigfoot or those type of things, most everybody has an opinion that is up there for discussion that they feel pretty comfortable sharing. So it is crazy the amount of input that we get on favorite food, favorite restaurant, all those types where people have stories, and they're all really compelling to me and they're interesting. I like telling stories like that. So that's one of my favorite parts of the job.
Yeah, it's always fun to switch it up every once in a
no,
while.
it is. You have to switch it up.
So your son also is now a student at the University of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
How has being a parent shaped the way you view sports and stories behind them?
Definitely being a parent changes everything in your life. It's most important thing that happens to anybody is having kids. And so we got to be a part of Jack's growing up and his playing Little League baseball and things like that. And I do think that Little Leagues and stuff like that really should be more about just developing kids and maybe finding out, hey, I'm not that into sports, or I'm into sports, but there's a lot bigger fish to fry. And so always look at it as a developmental phase, even in the high school ranks. It's important to win. It's important, not to lose when you're trying to win state championships and things like that when you get to high school. But the learning portion of it, adversity, working with people on teamwork and developing stuff like that, is the best thing about youth sports. And so for me, Jack wasn't a guy that wanted to play sports a lot in high school, which was fine. I want him to follow his passions too. So, but he loves being a student at OU and getting his degree, and And so look forward to having another graduate from OU in the family.
Boomer Sooner. After nearly 3 decades in Oklahoma sports radio, when listeners hear the name Mark Rogers, what do you hope they associate with your name?
Well, I would hope that if it's mostly radio, that they found the show entertaining and lighthearted and not very serious, which is kind of the way that I am in person, and maybe know that I have a passion for sports that I want to try to carry to them throughout whatever it's the radio waves or the TV waves, is that you can hopefully know that I'm enjoying this job as much as hopefully they are listening to it.
For Mark Rogers, passion is what keeps the mic on and the stories going. Reporting from El Huevo in Norman, Oklahoma, Carly Beach, OU Nightly.
Thanks, Carly, and thank you for watching. Join us next week for another Sooner Stories.